I have kind of bad news in regards to getting a visa here in Colombia, but let me explain further in this video. Welcome to How to Expat. My name is Sam, and at How to Expat we help expats relocate. In this video I want to talk about some things that have developed in the last couple of months in regards to Colombian visas, which you should know about. So let's start with the video. First of all, the Colombia visa rules, so the specific rules haven't really changed. But what changed is kind of how that really applies to if you actually want to have a visa here. They changed a little bit their requirements. What they sometimes do, so I think 1.5 years ago I already did a video like this, where it's not that the visa rules changed, but how actually how the process actually now changed a little bit. So the big thing now is that as an expat here, you have kind of 3 main obligations here in Colombia, which are visa, health insurance, and taxes. So of course, visa and taxes is self-explanatory. Yeah, if you live in a country, you have to have either a visa or at least a passport from them because you're a national. And the taxes, I think that's pretty much in all around the world, more or less the same thing, but we will talk about them afterwards. But the other thing that's a new thing is health insurance. So if you're from the US, you might not be familiar with that, but if you're from Europe or Canada, you already know that many countries have a mandatory health insurance system. That's the same thing here in Colombia. So you actually, even if you don't want to, you have to be actually covered. Many people don't know that, especially from the US, they just don't know that the system like this even exists. And there is no real, let's say, if you don't apply with the public, this is the one you have to be in, the public health insurance, then there's nothing really happening, and nothing really happens till now, but I will talk about that a little bit later in the video. But just know these 3 obligations. So first of all, the first change has also to do with the health insurance. So if you want to apply for a visa, you have to have health insurance covering you for that amount of time. That wasn't the case before, and it's a little bit confusing and a little bit complicated to get that sometimes, because if you have health insurance in your home country, this won't cover Colombia. It might cover Colombia for, let's say, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So that would be usually a vacation. But after that, it won't cover you anymore. So you would need to get a travel insurance, which is usually tied to your insurance back home, so your health insurance. So the traveler insurance, that from what I know, most of those, the max they will cover you is 12 months. So let's say you want to get a visa for 3 years. What do you do then? And that's kind of the issue. So the requirement that they have is still a little bit, yeah, who knows? It's still a gray zone. It depends from agent to agent, which is looking at your file. But it's around $60,000 to $70,000 have to be covered in the country here, which is not really too big of a requirement. Most health insurance cover that anyway, or even travel insurance. The thing is really the requirement with 2 years, 3 years. We heard of people that would want to apply for a 3-year visa, but they only have a 1-year health travel insurance, so they were only able to get the visa for 1 year, which kind of sucks. There are some health insurance companies that have special health insurance that will cover for a whole amount. So this health insurance can be an international one or even a Colombian one. If you want to have a long-term, let's say one that covers you more than the usual 1 year, then you might want to go with a Colombian health insurance company to cover you, and you have to do that before you even apply for the visa. So you might have to be covered with the health insurance before you even know that you are able to get a visa. So it just got a little bit complicated. I hope you could follow kind of my explanation there. So that really kind of sucks, because not because it's a stupid rule, I think it might make sense, but it's just a little bit hard to get that, and even you have to kind of get the insurance before you actually even know if you are able to get the visa. So that's the one thing. The thing is, that's for applying for your first visa. So that's more or less straightforward. Then the next thing, if you want to extend your visa. So let's say you have a 1-year visa or 3-year visa and you want to extend, then you have to be already covered with the health insurance here, at least the public one. Of course, you can have a private one or an international one on top of that, but you need to be covered as somebody with a visa here in Colombia with the public health insurance, which is called PBS or EPS system. So if you are covered with that, or if you haven't been covered with that, and if you would want to have your visa extended before everything changed, nobody really cared. But what actually happens now is that if you want to extend the visa, they will have a real close look at your file in regards to health insurance. So are you covered? Have you paid in, and have you paid the right amount? Because it's, I think, 12.5% or something like that, that from your income, worldwide income, you have to pay. So there is some kind of calculation you can do. I can link you something in the description down below. So the calculation you are able to do with your income, so you know what you have to pay into the public system here. So they will check if you're paid the right amount in your public system. And sometimes, even though you're in the public system, even though you are covered, and the public system is without kind of, so it's infinite, so it's not with, it's just 1 year or 2 years. It's as long as you have a visa, you have to pay in that, and that's covered. But we still heard from people that had that public health insurance, but they still required them to have some kind of travel international insurance. Why? Who knows? Maybe they didn't know really the system, that it's not really mandatory to have insurance, international insurance, if you're already covered in the country, or if that's just, I don't know. I really don't know, but we heard that that is a real thing. So it could be that you want to extend your visa. So let's say your pension visa, and then they will, so we had actually a case where that was the case. He has been here for, I think, 3 years, and he had to leave the country because he couldn't afford an additional on top health coverage. And yeah, he just had to leave, unfortunately. It's quite a sad thing. So he loved to live in Colombia, but he had to leave because they required him as a retiree that already has been into the public system, and on top he had to get some kind of other coverage. So that's a real thing, and it's just, I think, for you good to know. But as I said, it can be one way or the other, you don't really know. So they will check that if you have health insurance, and sometimes they will check even if you're covered with the public system, but they will still require you to have another one. And if you haven't paid in to that amount, who knows? Maybe they're going to fine you, maybe they're going to reject the visa or the extension application, who knows? But just be aware that they will have a look into that. And there's another issue going on there, because a lot of people, especially retirees, have paid just the minimum wage, because that's kind of the common thing everybody did. If you're a retiree and you don't have pension from Colombia, you don't have to pay this 12.5% because it's not really applicable. So they just paid the minimum amount, which was around $30 US at the moment. Now, of course, they didn't really check, so yeah, nobody really knew. But now that they check, you might, if you have a pension or visa, want to ask your visa lawyer or your visa company what you should actually do. And they will request that, I think, 6 months before you actually extend the visa. So you want to be careful if you now are a retiree and you just pay the minimum wage, if that's might gonna be an issue once you extend that. So again, health insurance, that's one thing. The other thing that they didn't do before is now they check your taxes. They actually cross-check what your visa is, what you said your income is, what you paid with health insurance, because that is dependent on the visa, on your income. And then they also want to check, depending on your income, what taxes you actually paid and if you paid the right amount of taxes. So you just nowadays have to be very, very careful with what kind of crazy, funky things you do with not declaring certain kind of income, not declaring certain kind of health insurance contribution and all of that. You have to be very, very careful, and you have to do it by the books. So this is just for you important to know. So if you just want to take away one thing, because it's very, very complicated, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you want to take away one thing, then it is 6 months before, or better even 7 months before, talk to your trusted immigration lawyer or to your immigration company that will extend or help you extend the visa or get the visa at exactly what you need to do, because it's not like it was a couple of years before or even when you got your first visa. And if you apply for the first visa, of course, you will have to go through the process, and they're gonna explain that to you anyway. Maybe the last point, if you are thinking about doing your visa online yourself, I wouldn't really do it. It was already complicated beforehand, and it's got even more complicated nowadays. So just get yourself a good immigration lawyer or company and handle that with them. All right, that was a complicated video. If you had no idea what I'm talking about, then you're probably not really, you don't really have to worry about. But if you know how the system works here, and if you are about to extend or getting a visa, I think this should probably help if I did a good job explaining everything. Otherwise, again, check with your lawyer or your company. All right, that was it. I hope this video helped. Don't forget that we have a Patreon channel where you can support this channel, get more information, especially nitty-gritty information we can't really share on publicly or here on YouTube. Yeah, consider being a patron. The link to that is in the description down below. See you in the next video.